Sorry guys, but it's time to piss on your chips. I've already made one video talking about Valve's Steam Deck, and in the video I was very positive, and I remain very positive. I did mention some of the caveats and things I thought we should be skeptical about though. And, you know, I talked about how running games off the SD card and various other things, and check out that video if you want to see what I said in there. One thing I didn't cover in any great detail though was the way in which games will translate in terms of their controls from keyboard and mouse to a handheld. And anyone who's tried to use keyboard and mouse games with a controller will know that sometimes you can run into problems. And Steam is no exception there. And if you look here, I'll show you what I mean. We've got my library up. And this is my whole library at the moment. 139 games, 266 apps in total. So remember that, 139 games. And if we go in here, you can see you can filter out what you're looking for. And if you do full, now it goes down to 48 games out of 139. So that's with full controller support. So of the 139 games I've got, only 48 of them have got full controller support. And if you go into partial controller support, it's 76 games. So you're going to need keyboard and mouse to get them started. Now, with partial support, that shouldn't be such an issue on the Steam Deck because obviously you've got a virtual keyboard. You should be able to start them up using the trackpad and the on-screen keyboard if you need to type stuff in. So that shouldn't be such an issue. But it does still leave us with, 48 games on here only that work out of 139 that have full controller support. So looking at this, that's an issue because some of these games really won't work very well. And I'll give you an example. If we go down here, if we go to Armour. Now, I loaded up Armour on NVIDIA Shield. I was streaming it from my PC. And it runs fine. But when I came to trying to control it with my Xbox controller or the Shield controller, because I've got it so I can use both, neither of them would work very well. And the reason for that is that Armour has got an awful lot of keyboard controls. And this can be a problem with RTS games, RPGs, any number of games that require a lot of inputs from the keyboard could be a problem. Now, Valve get over this to some degree in the big picture mode, which is what you're going to be using on the Steam Deck, by allowing a kind of overlay. And there's a community that have lots of different setups. And I'll show you what I mean now. If I go into big picture mode, and I go into library, and let's just go down to, what can we go down to? I need to go into games first. Go to games. Let's go to Armour. If you look at Armour here, we've got manage game. So if I go into manage game, you've got controller configuration. If I click on that, you can see here, you've got the ability to set up a controller. And so you can browse configs, export config. If we go into browse config, you've got your personal ones. I shouldn't have anything in there. Your friends, there probably aren't any in there. And then you've got community. So you can download community controller support. People have set up different settings and setups, which is great, but here's the problem. Anyone like me who's messed around with these kind of things realizes that it doesn't always work perfectly. Let's just get out of big picture mode for a second. And you're right, we're back on the store, the library, my Steam library. Anyone who's used this kind of thing and tried to set it up. I tried getting it working with Quake and I ran into some problems there. I managed to kind of get it working, but it wasn't ideal. And as I say, with Armour 3, it was virtually unplayable. And it's very similar to what you would get with emulation. Anyone who's worked with emulation knows that sometimes trying to get the control scheme working in a way that feels right is very difficult, especially if you've got muscle memory and you're used to doing something in a particular way. And as I mentioned here, you know, you've got games like Command and Conquer, you've got the Total War games. These are going to require quite a lot of keyboard and mouse inputs. And if you're used to doing that, it's going to be a pain in the neck, you know, moving across. So, yes, you may well be able to get most of these games running, most of them, but you're not going to get all of them running. Your entire Steam library is not going to work perfectly well on the Steam Deck. That's just the reality of it. And look, there will be a great community because, you know, there is a great community with Valve and with Steam. And I'm sure a lot of people will do a lot of work. And I'm sure that Valve themselves will do a lot of work to try and make this work, if you see what I mean. But you can't get over the fact that certain types of games do work a lot better with keyboard and mouse. And short of docking it and plugging it into a monitor and using a keyboard and mouse, that's not going to change with the Steam Deck. It's simply not going to change. And, you know, with all the will in the world, I'm not going to be lugging a Bluetooth or a USB keyboard and mouse around with me with my Steam Deck. Can you imagine that? You're on the bus and you get your backpack and you pull your Steam Deck out, which is already quite a lump, and then you bring your keyboard out and your mouse out. Your mates who are on their Switches or playing on their mobiles are going to be taking the piss out of you. So, I mean, that's just not going to work. So, yeah, again, I'm very, very positive about the Steam Deck, and I'm very excited about getting my hands on one. But I just want to say, let's not get too carried away, because this thing about you'll be able to take your entire Steam library with you. No. There's a reason why games like Age of Empires aren't running on the Xbox. And that's because they work way better with keyboard and mouse, and it would be very difficult to get them to work on a mainstream game console with a controller. I mean, it could be done, but it's not ideal. And when you're trying to fiddle around with it and sort it out for yourself, well, as I said before, I've already run into lots of problems trying to sort this out for myself. But anyway, look, that's all I wanted to say. It's just that it's that usual thing of let's just, you know, take a step back a moment. Let's make sure our expectations aren't too high. This isn't going to be the panacea. It's not going to solve world peace, and it's not going to solve world hunger problems and flooding and all the rest of it. And it's not going to allow you to play every single Steam game. Certainly not well or enjoyably. Many of them it will, and it is going to be a great bit of kit. But it's not the panacea. It's not the be-all and end-all. Anyway, as I say, that's what I wanted to say. That's me done. I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea, and I will speak to you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bye.